This video is sponsored by Squarespace. So I'm gonna be totally honest with you all. I've been feeling kind of discouraged recently, especially because I just had a massive hard drive failure and I lost all of my old YouTube content. All the stuff that I was currently working on, all the stuff that I paid a whole bunch of money to get created for you all to watch, like full wedding days. I lost the last 3 of footage and I'm trying to get the files recovered now. And yeah, it just has me like kind of messed up. Don't really want to make content at the moment. So I figured I would sit down and just tell you my story about how I became a photographer and how I got to where I am now. Because honestly, I know when starting photography, it's very easy to get to a place where you are discouraged and you just don't feel like doing anything. So I'm hoping by me sharing my story with you all, it'll help you see that there's always a way to make things happen if you just stick with it. Because you may look at me and think, oh, it's so great. He's doing YouTube. He does photography, y'all. It was a struggle. And honestly, it only got easier recently. And on top of that, maybe telling my story will help me remind myself how far I've come and just like how everything worked out. So, without further ado, since I've never really told the whole story, let's talk about how I got to where I am today. So, if you didn't know, I actually went to Berklee College of Music. I did not major in photography. I did not go to school for photography. That's actually one of the first questions I always get when I meet people in person at different workshops and conferences. So I went to school for music production and sound design, and I was actually doing a lot of post audio work for about 3 years while I was living in New York. Getting to New York was after I was living in Boston because that's where Berkeley is. Yes, Berklee, not Berkeley and Cali. Everyone always thinks that for some reason. So after living in Boston and meeting my wife, I moved down to New York to pursue audio. Did that for 3 years. It went okay. I ended up getting out of it. And that's actually when I went and started working for Squarespace. As you all already know, Squarespace is the sponsor of this video, which I'm super grateful for that company. They helped me get my start as well as start my family because I had my first 2 children while I was at Squarespace. I also learned a lot about how to communicate with others and lead a team because I was a team lead while I was there. So I worked at Squarespace for 5 years, and during that 5 years is actually when I started my photography business. So basically, as the story goes, pretty much me and my wife got pregnant with our first child, and I was like, well, I probably should get a second job because she wanted to stay home. And she told me not to get a second job, but to start a business. At the time, I had been dabbling with photography and I was always very interested in it. I just had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. So, in that time, up until having our eldest, I basically learned photography. I took my natural talent, which gave me like decent little whatever photos. If I have any really dirt old ones, I'll pop them up here, but honestly, I probably can't find them. And within that time, I kind of learned the just of photography and how it worked. Because one of my biggest pet peeves are a lot of people out here will go buy a camera and they're like, I'm a photographer. Take the time to at least try and learn what you can. Learning clearly is always something that will happen forever over time, but like you got to learn what you can before you get in, not just be like, well, I'll learn while I do it. You will, but try. So my first ever paid session was an engagement session, and my daughter was like, I don't know, like 6 days old or something, like a week old. She came, my wife came, and my mom was in town at the time, and they all came, and they were like my little cheerleaders, and I did my little like $50 engagement session, and they're like, yeah. And what was awesome is this couple loved me so much that they were like, if we didn't already have a wedding photographer, we would hire you. Luckily, them hiring me then would not have been a good look, and I probably would have butchered their wedding, but that was a big confidence boost for me. So here I am now at Squarespace, and at that point, I was just the customer service person. I was one of the people who answered the emails and started shooting on the weekends and when I could. I got on Groupon and started getting sessions that way. This is something I would not recommend because what happens with Groupon is they take such a big cut of your money and you have such a hefty discount on whatever you're offering, you're basically not making money. However, it is a great way to maybe get some portfolio work in, which is what I did with a couple of my first engagement sessions. I also got on Thumbtack, which again was better than Groupon, but you're still spending money to get clients. But I did that, and that was also how I started growing my portfolio and getting weddings before I even started seconding. So again, that was like 2 to 3 years of me shooting weddings on my own. I did probably, I want to say, between 20 and 30 before I got my mentor. While at Squarespace, I became a team lead, so I was leading a team of customer service reps. It's about 10 people, and that's where I learned a lot of my not only customer service skills, but how to manage a team and how to speak to people, how to listen. There was a lot I learned from that, which was extremely helpful when it came to wedding photography. Now, 2.5, 3 years into photography, I'm still part-time, still doing on the weekends, and this is when I meet my mentor. Phil Porto. If you haven't checked out his channel, definitely I'll leave it in the comments below. Not the comments, the description. I do that every time. But he really showed me the ropes of how to manage a wedding day. All the stuff you hear me talking about with how to manage a wedding day and handhold it, that came from watching him and how he handled his wedding days, which made a huge difference for my business and really helped me serve my clients better. So not only did he show me the ropes, but he also allowed me to use pictures from his weddings in my portfolio, which was a game changer. Now, I had some decent looking weddings myself, but find you a mentor who doesn't mind sharing the photos. And I know that's easier said than done. I was very blessed to have that in my life. But really, there are people out there who don't mind. This whole idea that like everything is competition is not how it works. There's like millions of people getting married. No one is stealing your work. You just have to find your people and market yourself the right way. So I was working with his team for, I want to say, about 3 years. Within this time, this is when I actually ended up quitting Squarespace and going full-time photography. Because while I was there, I was feeling the pull of working on the weekend and having a day job. And it was the absolute worst, especially when it came to commuting, because I was commuting in from New Jersey. And like, I wouldn't see my daughter for multiple days sometimes because I would leave in the morning when everyone was waking up and sleep so I could commute in. And then when I would come back, it'd be so late that everyone would sleep again. And it's just like, when you have kids, that's not it. So that was one big factor of me quitting, because the commuting and the working, and then also I felt like I wasn't able to take as much wedding work as I wanted to. The second factor, actually, which makes this whole story absolutely insane, is that the place we were living at was a two-family home, so we lived on like the second floor. The people below us, they were just old and mean, and if we made any sound at all, they were like, "You're too loud." Now, mind you, we have like two kids, especially when my daughter was learning to walk. I mean, it's a baby. When they learn to walk, they fall all the time. So they just like couldn't take it. And one day I come home and my wife was like, "Yo, I was up washing dishes at like 10 at night." And then they came at me telling me something, you can't run the water after a certain amount of time. And at that point, I was just like, yeah, that's a hard no for me. So we literally left. Like, I pretty much went to work the next day and gave my 2 week notice and was like, sorry, I'm leaving. And everyone was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm dipping. I have never shot weddings in North Carolina. I had no North Carolina portfolio. All I had was a little bit of money saved, and the fact that I felt that if I focused on photography, that I could make it work. And we ended up moving down to North Carolina, and I went full-time photography, and we were literally like, look, we have maybe 3 to 4 months of saved money that we can live off of, and then after that, either we have to go live with my parents, or I'll just find a job, because my resume was decent, like I was like, I could probably find a job, it'd be no problem. I used to work at Apple, I worked at Squarespace, 5 years between the two. Like, if anything, I could get a decent tier customer service job. Also, my first Apple store was in North Carolina, so I knew people here. So all I had was money saved, the fact that I'm from North Carolina, and that I was a good photographer. And we just dipped. So, since we're talking about me leaving, let's actually take a moment to talk about this video sponsor, Squarespace. Now, I had to get a sponsor in here, and I feel like Squarespace is especially a special one for me because, again, they helped me get my start, not only by teaching me so much while I was working there, but also me setting up my wedding photography website with Squarespace. If you don't have a website now, in all seriousness, I don't know what you're doing. The biggest part of becoming a full-time wedding photographer is having a web presence and having a beautiful website. Squarespace is probably one of the easiest ways to do that because you just hop online, find yourself a template that you absolutely love, put in your photos, put in some beautiful text about yourself and how you'll serve your clients, and you have a great website in no time. On top of that, they also have great features to help you manage your website, like analytics, which will help you know who's visiting your site and where from. It'll even show you things like where you have backlinks, which is huge when it comes to SEO. If you want me to make a video about that, let me know in the comments below. They also have commerce, so if you ever get to a point where you're selling stuff like myself, you'll already have that stuff built into your site. So really the biggest thing I think I like about Squarespace is the fact that it can grow with you. Like they have email lists that you can do, and you can do all your email marketing right inside of Squarespace. So it's just like all this stuff is there. Maybe you're not doing it now, but you can do it later. So make sure to check out the link in the description below and sign up for Squarespace for 10% off your first domain or website. I've been on them my whole career. I don't plan on moving. I love their website. Both my websites, my main one and the Natural Fills preset, are both on Squarespace. Definitely check them out in the description below. They're great. Sign up for Squarespace. So I quit Squarespace. I dipped. I went back home to North Carolina with some money in the bank and a dream. And my wife was 1,000% for this. Like, she honestly, I was the one who was kind of at first like, I don't know, we have kids, I can't just do it. She was like, bruh, you got this. And I was like, great. That was 2018. And the biggest issue I made is that I had a whole bunch of weddings, at least 20 to 25 New York weddings that I couldn't charge travel for because I just dipped. And it was that fast. I was just out like that. So I had to eat all that travel the first year. So again, the main reason I'm trying to share this story with you all is that if you feel discouraged or you feel like there's no way, like I fought an uphill battle. It gets no more of an uphill battle than my wife's at home. And again, her not working doesn't mean we're not making money. I can go on forever. Like, if y'all know how much it costs to put your kids in like daycare, her staying home is a part-time job, if not more, on top of all the work she has to do with the kids. And that's a whole nother story. Leave claps in the comments for my wife, y'all, because I wouldn't be on YouTube if it wasn't for her, in all seriousness. But so she's not working, which again, I don't think that's as huge of a factor. We only had but so much in the bank. I had no North Carolina portfolio. We had 2 kids already. Because again, a lot of people be like, oh, there's no way I can do all these things. We had 2 kids. I quit my job and like everything was just an up. I'm in a new market. I had to pay for travel to do all my 2018 weddings. It was the worst. My pricing was too low at the point. 2019 hits. That's the first year I got 40 weddings. Half the reason that happened was because of being on the knot and God, in all honesty. Like, that's the only way that happened. I did the 40 weddings and that worked. I started charging travel more often. And what's funny enough, even till this day, I book better in the New York, New Jersey area than I do in North Carolina, which someone please explain that to me because I would like to not travel as much. But all of that uphill battle and things worked out. The 40 weddings came in and then it stabilized. However, y'all already know, then 2020 came up. So at that point, I was stabilized. Me and my wife actually just finished paying off all of our debt when 2020 rolled around, and YouTube started doing well for me. Now, you may think, this guy just gets on YouTube, how did that happen? But I actually had a channel in the past where I taught music production. So I knew how to record YouTube videos. It was very natural to me. So when I decided to do it when I was here, which was when I first moved down 2018, I'll link the first video I put up when I first came down here. Um, but yeah, like I was just doing it like for no reason. I like sharing knowledge, teaching others, and helping people achieve things that I was able to achieve myself. So it's not just like I did it and I'm like, ha ha, I'm amazing. It's just like, wow, I was able to do this. I would love to show someone else who has no idea so that they can do it too, because it's really cool to like be able to work for yourself. And hopefully one day someone who's further along than me will do the same thing and be like, hey bro, let me teach you some stuff that you haven't figured out yet. So again, I just like sharing knowledge of things that I've personally learned. That's another thing. I'm not just out here like shooting from the hip being like, hey, here's some cool stuff. Like most of everything I teach is stuff I've either done myself or I've seen or practiced something of that sort. So 2020 comes around and YouTube popped off and it literally saved my business. It allowed me to be able to refund my couples all the way back to their deposit, which technically per my contract I don't need to do. But 2020 was rough, y'all. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with all these couples about the deposit when everyone's life is in shambles. I am extremely grateful that I was able to give my couples back their deposits, because I think I told the story before, but one of my grooms, he had cancer, and so they canceled their wedding, and I was able to go and visit them in person while I refunded them the last time, and then he ended up passing before even their wedding date. Um and it's cool that I was able to be like a light in that moment of like 2020, and he has cancer. Like how much would that have sucked if I was also that photographer? So not only was he sick and not only was it 2020, but then our photographer wouldn't even refund us. Like come on, man. So again, YouTube saved my business. I actually made a video about that. I'll link it up above. And that's how I'm at where I'm at today. I've raised my prices. I don't book as much as I used to. A lot of my time is dedicated towards YouTube, teaching you all. And that's not even just because like that's what I want to do, or a lot of people become educators and then they like don't shoot anymore. Like I still shoot weddings, like it's what I do. I'm second shooting coming up in like a month or so here, and I have about 5 or 6 weddings on the book this year. So like I'm doing it. I just shot a wedding April 1st. Like I do it. I still do the thing. So I just really want to let y'all know it's possible. It's not easy though. Like for me to be at this place, I'm almost 10 years deep now. 4 to 5 years part-time wedding photography while I was at a day job grinding. Like you can ask the people who worked with me. They remember seeing me come into the office with my gear because I had an engagement session right after I was done working. Or because the office was just a nice place and they let us use it. Like on a Saturday, I'd come there and that would be my home base. I'd take a break real quick, get some water or something, go out and do a Central Park, engagement session while I was there. So like people saw me. I was on the grind. Actually, what's really awesome is one of the people who was on my team, who I was their team lead for a while, like we basically grew up at Squarespace together. I was able to shoot his wedding, and like that's just a highlight for me, like, and he knows, he saw it. He saw me start from zero, and then now I'm over here shooting his wedding. So it's super cool. So again, things are rough right now. I lost a bunch of my data. It's kind of whatever. I'm working on fixing that up with the QNAP stuff that I just bought. I actually made a video on that. Y'all can check that out right up above if you haven't seen it yet. But, all things will work out. You just have to give yourself time and believe in yourself in the process. I know it's not easy and it's hard looking at other people. And I hope that I never come off as like, oh, look at this guy, so successful, he's whatever, blah, blah, blah. He's just trying to take all our money or whatever. Like, in all seriousness, like, I have a family of 4 children, me and my wife. You know, it's just, there's a lot of us. I'm just over here trying to pay my bills and do the work and teach you all how to do it as well so that hopefully you can do what I'm doing as well, you know, paying off your debt. Because I did that before I went full-time photography, or, not having to worry about your finances as much because you paid off your debt. Because honestly, let's be real, that's the real reason and way that you help yourself. I want to see you all be successful because it's the best feeling that I've had. And I came from, when I was in college, back when they used to do the overdraft fees on your bank account, like just ridiculous. Like every time you would swipe, instead of it being declined, they would just overdraft fee. I lived through that, and I can remember calling my mom when I was in Boston, being like, "Hey, can you transfer me literally like $1.50 so my account doesn't overdraw?" Like that's where I came from. I was broke, just all the way broke, to now like having no debt and really not worrying about money as much and just being like, "Wow, this is cool. Like I can buy my essentials, even though like everything is inflated at the moment, which it's still expensive, but I want y'all to do well. Seriously, and you can. So let me know if you have any comments about my story. Let me know if you have any thoughts about where you are in your journey. And again, it takes years. Like I didn't get to the successful photographer place until honestly maybe 7 years. It wasn't until I moved down here. So I'd say 2020 is really when it finally was like, here is John Branch. He's a photographer. He's pretty good. Like everything before then was me just trying to get it to work and, learning and doing the most I could. So that's my story. I hope it makes you feel better. It definitely made me feel a little bit better. And even though I lost all my stuff, I'm going to keep going from where I'm at now. Hopefully, I'll have some more wedding day videos coming up. I have my drive and file recovery. Hopefully that won't be too expensive, and you all will see those videos later. And again, if you want to see more wedding photography or just learn more, here's a playlist y'all can check out. Thank you for staying on the channel. Thank you for subscribing, and I wish you all the best of every endeavor that you overtake or try to do or whatever you want in life. Have a happy life. I'll catch y'all next time.